If your energy contract is finished, many people are telling you right now that you should do absolutely nothing. And I'm going to explain why part of that advice is right. So if you're thinking at the moment of using my Octopus referral link to join me where I get 50 quid and you get 50 quid, my advice for the majority of you watching this video is to do absolutely nothing. However, there is some very unique cases where doing nothing will actually still be more expensive than the current price cap, and we're going to be going through that in this video today, explaining why the energy prices are going up so much, why people are advising you to do absolutely nothing, and why for some people doing nothing will still be more expensive, and you might even be a lot better switching now than ever before. So this video we're going to be going through why are energy wholesale prices so high, why some people may still be better switching, and how some people aren't actually in an energy price cap depending on which energy company you're with. So even though some of the advice online has basically been don't switch, some people aren't protected by the usual price cap systems that are in place from Ofgem. So the reason why most people are advising that you currently do not switch and do absolutely nothing is usually at the moment any contract that you've signed previously before today will be cheaper than current prices based on the fact that wholesale rates are through the roof, which we'll be explaining shortly in the video. And if your contract is ended, you'll be locked into a variable rate tariff, which is set at the absolute limit by Ofgem, which is the government regulator, and they review that every 6 months, and the next review is coming up in April. So basically the two unit rates, if you're in contract or just run out of contract, the variable price cap or previous negotiated contracts will be cheaper than any new contracts that you may negotiate now, unless you are a business, in which case there is no price cap for businesses, in which case your contract's ended. You're probably better looking for a cheaper fix right now as soon as possible. If you want to sign up to Octopus, my referral link, Octopus pay £100 for businesses to join, but have a look across the market because there's probably other alternatives. I wouldn't worry too much about fixing maybe a 2 or 3 year fix. I think prices will eventually come back down, which we'll explain shortly in the video again. But if you are worried about price long term, then yes, go ahead, fix 2-3 years. I'm not a financial advisor. I just feel that the prices, as I'm going to explain shortly, will be coming down. The other example is if your energy company doesn't have a price cap, and this does apply to some small green suppliers. One of them that I found is a company called Good Energy, and I believe it also applies to a couple of other energy companies which are small green providers. So just ring up your supplier, ask if you're on a variable rate tariff, and ask if the price cap is applied to you and your supply. If it is, and you are on a price cap system, then changing contracts or renegotiating a contract with your current or a new supplier will be more than that variable rate. So bear that in mind. Now there is a very small caveat on electric, which we'll explain at the end, but pretty much any single person who's on a variable rate, gas or electric, who is on a price cap will not pay more than a set limit set by the government. So don't change it unless the last thing I'm going to mention to you applies to you, or you're a business or part of an energy company that I've just mentioned before isn't part of the price cap. So why are prices so high? Well, it's a little bit more complicated, but let's first look at gas, because gas affects obviously the wholesale price of gas itself, but also affects the wholesale price of electricity, because in the UK we use gas to generate electricity by putting it in a gas turbine powered plant to produce steam to drive a turbine to make electricity. So if gas prices are high, this directly affects electricity prices as well. And there's a couple of reasons why we're using more gas than normal, which we'll move into shortly. But first of all, let's look at why gas is extremely high wholesale. It's extremely high wholesale because during a thing called lockdown that we've just gone through, people weren't consuming as much gas as normal. The power grid was down a little bit more than normal because factories were shut, so therefore the gas storage levels across Europe and England were running at the lowest they've ever been for quite some time. So low gas basically storage. Also, because of that low storage, when we came out of lockdown, we've seen all over Europe and the UK, a huge rise in demand, people buying and consuming more than they ever have before, more businesses having to produce more stuff which use gas, therefore drying up these gas supplies. Less gas supplies means that the price for those gas supplies is worth more money, therefore driving up the wholesale cost, therefore affecting you in your pocket. Now there's a couple of political tensions that has also caused the gas price to be relatively lower than normal. A gas pipeline that goes through Russia, well basically comes from Russia and goes through Ukraine, has been being turned on and off due to the political tensions in Ukraine. There is a new bypass of Ukraine gas pipe going in towards Europe, which should alleviate some of the gas prices, increase basically the supply and therefore lower gas demand shortly. But the UK doesn't demand too much on Russian gas. We get our gases from other sources. It's a very, very small proportion that we actually get from Russia. So, but it will still have a knock-on wholesale price, because it means that we, effectively will be paying less for our gas because there'll be higher demand, higher supply all over Europe, affecting our prices. The other reason for higher electricity prices, higher sort of wholesale costs in the electrical industry, is there's a new nuclear power station that was due to come back online this year, which hasn't. It's been delayed until the start of next year, but there's no confirmed date, and that was supposed to come online pretty much now. It was due to come online pretty much any time now. There's some other tensions to do with electricity, which is we've had a couple of fires on some of the interconnected lines. We've had a new interconnected line connected up, so that should alleviate some of that demand. But basically, even if you're not buying electricity from a green supplier, if the price of electricity gas goes up, this affects the wholesale price across the industry. So just because you only have a green supplier, and because the grid is consuming energy from everywhere, if the price of gas goes up and the price of that gas turbine goes up, then all the other energy, green, wind, solar, their wholesale price naturally comes up, because it's capitalism, people want to make more money, so those prices naturally go up to compensate to be at the same price lower, because wind and solar are the two cheapest forms of electricity here in the UK, especially wind. But as we see those other wholesale prices go up, everything tries to keep up behind it. Now, if you're worried about price rises and you're thinking, Nick, should I lock in now before the April price increase in April 2022 on the variable rate? My advice would be, if you're really that concerned and you can definitely afford the current prices and you want to be completely and utterly sure, then yeah, go ahead and lock in. But if you want my gut feeling, what I'd be doing, because my gas contract's run out, I'm on a variable rate tariff as well, I won't be doing anything, because by the time we get to April, we're going to be having warmer temperatures. So therefore, I won't be using the gas as much. The most gas you're ever going to consume is from when this video is released until April, because it's the colder months in the UK. You'll be burning more gas in your house because of your gas boiler. I'm assuming you've all got gas boilers, because that's why you've got a gas connection to your house still. So you'll be consuming more gas during those colder months. So any long-term savings you're probably going to make over a 1-year contract won't be seen short-term. You're only going to see it next year if the prices carry on increasing. You're going to save the majority of the money between now and April in that price cap. So personally, I'd leave it as it is. I also think that by April, gas supplies will come back, because obviously we're not going to have the same winter demand. The electricity wholesale should also stabilise, because we should see less people using as much electricity to maybe heat the homes for people with other sort of heat technologies. We're going to see a bit more wind increases we're going over the winter, so that should bring down some of that cost as well. Usually in the winter we have higher winds, meaning higher generation from wind plants, meaning lower wholesale costs. So these are just predictions of mine, but my gut feeling is don't lock in now and just basically stay on the variable rate tariff. So before I mentioned, there is some people that still might be able to save some money by switching their energy company or re-signing a contract. Now, let's be fair, the majority of people watching this video, this will not apply to. And I am definitely saying, if you're on a variable price capped tariff on your gas, that one, just stick with it. Do not change it. Do not switch supplier. You can, if you wanted, just switch one electricity supplier to someone else if this next tariff applies to you, but keep your gas with who it's with. If you've had a new contract sent to you by your current supplier trying to get you onto a fixed tariff from their variable tariff, don't stay with what it is. They can't increase the price cap until April, and they are currently likely not making any money out of you on that variable tariff or losing a slight bit of money. So just hold out till the end of April. However, if you're like me and you have an electric vehicle or you're consuming high amounts of electricity off peak like I am, then you are probably better on a new type of deal, as long as you're out of contract and you're on one of these variable standard rates. Now, I'll give you a prime example. I am literally a perfect 50-50 user. So I have my current electricity bill on the screen. I had 184 kilowatts on the peak, and I used 181 kilowatts off peak. So exactly, pretty much a 50-50 split between my energy. Now, I am currently on an old Octopus Go rate, but if I apply the new Octopus Go rates tariff to me based on my usage, I would be paying 23.72 peak electricity including VAT and 5 pence a kilowatt hour including VAT off peak electricity. And because I'm an exact 50-50 user, I add those two figures together and I divide by 2, which gives me an average unit rate of 14.46 pence per kilowatt hour. Now I can tell you now that'll be cheaper than any new fixed deal that's available at the moment, and it'll be cheaper than any variable tariff that's available at the moment. So that is an absolute perfect saving for someone who uses the amount of energy that I do off peak. If you use more off peak energy, you'll see a lower rate. If you're using less off peak energy, then you're going to see obviously a higher rate. So just do your own figures. It's also very, 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 very important, I stress this, if you are not an Octopus Go customer at the moment, your contract hasn't ended with Octopus, you're not an Agile customer at the moment, you do not have your energy, you have your energy with another supplier, and that other supplier has not fitted you a SMET2 smart meter, so you don't currently have a SMET2 smart meter, you will have to get a SMET2 smart meter or a secure branded smart meter before you move to Octopus Go, and you will not be able to switch to Octopus Go until they have those two, basically a meter that they can read. So if you're not with Octopus, bear in mind that if you switch to them, you'll have to get a smart meter installed that works with them. If your smart meter already works for them, you'll have to wait until they've received enough reliable data off it before they can switch you to Go. So just bear in mind that if you are not currently with them, there is a small possible chance that you could move to them on a deal, which is then not able to switch to Go for a number of weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks, because you're waiting for other things. It could even be longer. It could even be after the April price cap. So bear that in mind. If you are already with Octopus, you're already on one of their smart adaptive tariffs like Agile, or your Go rates have just finished, then don't, personally, I wouldn't stay on the variable tariff if you know what your consumption data is and you can do these things. And if you are an Octopus customer, you could ask them, what would your average rate be based on your current readings? I'm pretty sure their customer service, the way they are, how helpful they are, they'd probably come back with the answer and let you know. What will you be doing? Are you on a fixed tariff at the moment? Are you worried about being able to either heat your home or your energy? Let us know below in the comments. And don't forget, if you are switching to the Octopus Go deal that I've just mentioned, don't switch your gas. Do not switch your gas if it is on a variable deal that's under the price cap. Thank you very, very much for watching this week's video. I hope people have found it useful. I hope I've educated some of people and maybe saved you a couple of money, or even stopped you from switching because you thought it might be better. Thank you very, very much, and I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.